So if you've been playing around with Photoshop Generative Fill using the contextual fill box, this AI, and you've kind of just played around with the idea of turning a photograph from a photograph into a painting as such, you probably actually just kind of selected onto an image and you've basically put in watercolor like me, and basically you come up with junk. Well, it technically is a watercolor image, but it's not what you're expecting. So the key thing is when we're trying to kind of turn an image like this into an image like this, using the likes of Generative Fill dialog box, contextual fill, I should say. All we've got to do is actually use the alpha channels and a percentage of brightness to actually really make the effect and things. So let's show you how to do that. So if I just delete those layers straight away, and we're working on just the background layer. At the end, we'll kind of encourage you to look at a slightly different, more advanced where you're working with a smart object and basically using a kind of a filter on it to give it a bit more of a photo edge or a kind of a look or a blur to kind of get the look and feel to it. You'll also notice that on the channels panel, we've got one alpha extra channel in here. That's what we're going to need to create. But I created an action where basically it will create multiple alpha channels for us for the kind of the quick use of the art effect, as it were. So let me throw that alpha channel away to begin with. So we're back to the image as we began. So if I press the F12 key, there's no cheat in here. We're back to the beginning. First thing we're going to do is click onto the plus on the channels, and this, as you can see, creates a new alpha channel. What we want to do is turn this black into grey, and to do that, in the background or the foreground color I should say, is we're going to actually set a percentage of brightness, so that's the B. We're going to actually turn this into an amount, so 50, 40, 30, 20, 10, whatever. The higher up it goes, the more junk it's going to actually create. So if we're looking at more photoreal, 10%, 15%, if we're looking at that kind of blend between the two, you're looking at 50 to about 35%. Let's just put it into 30% to begin with, and we're going to press OK. But you can see black hasn't changed here because we need to fill this alpha layer with that foreground color. I'm working on a PC, so that's Alt Backspace, fills it with the foreground color. To bring the image back live, all I need to do is on the channels, I click onto the RGB, this top layer, and then basically it's back for us. Now, I need to make a selection. So the whole point of the generative fill, it needs you to select something, because basically, as you can see here at present, in the generative fill box, all it's got is basically select subject or remove a background. But we actually need to actually make a selection. That's why we've just gone through the point of making the alpha channel. We're going to use the alpha channel to make our selection. So in this case, we're going to press and hold the control key, and then we click on the alpha thumbnail, and you're going to get this warning dialog box pretty much come up all the time. Just ignore it, just press OK. And now within the generative fill dialog box, this is where we can type in what we need. So in this case, I'm just going to be lazy and paste in watercolor painting, and you're going to hit generate. Now, the good news is it's going to throw out some good stuff. The bad news is it's almost impossible to generate the same thing again. You're going to just kind of generate more and more different varieties of the same thing. But obviously the different alpha channel brightness will kind of give you the different effects as well. So you can see here what we've got is basically the effects given when we set in a certain percentage of alpha channel. Let's do that again so you can see how it works, and we'll do a different amount of alpha. So in other words, we're going to unclick this box at the top. Just by kind of habit, I'm going to select onto the background. On the channels palette, we're going to click on plus again. And in this case, we're going to go across, and instead of a brightness of 30%, we're going to do this, say, at 15%. Pressing OK. Remember, Alt and the backspace on a PC to fill that into the grey. Clicking back onto the RGB, and then all we've got to do is control click onto the grey thumbnail on the Alpha 2 channel, press OK to that dialog box. Once more, type in the effect that we want, hit generate, and it's going to do its job. Now, I would recommend that you're going to make yourself an action to create the different brightness levels, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 perhaps, to kind of have those at a press of a button instead of you having to actually do all this slow work all the time. So as you can see here now, we've got different effects, and this is based on the 15%. So if we were to double click in the alpha channel and we just put 15 in here, on the alpha 1 channel, we do that as 30. Let's click back onto our RGB again. So we know the first time that we did it, we basically had a 30 brightness level. So hence that is less photograph kind of based and leaning more towards the art base itself. So let me just select on that top layer and just goes from here. And then of course we switch that one off and we go, okay, this is where we had the 15, so more photoreal, and then we can actually select onto these and we can see the effect. If of course you want to bring something very specific back, in like in a portrait, you could kind of make a selection around the image, and basically then you can kind of paste that on top of your layers and obviously kind of blend that together and so on with it. So you can see how kind of quick that was, and you got some great effects straight out of the can. What you don't want to do, as I said, is basically just Control A to select all of the actual image without making the alpha channel and then typing in your reference, because it will throw out the junk. Okay, that's absolutely guaranteed, because it's seeing 100% as far as the black is concerned. So it's not kind of taking account of anything of your image at all, and hence it's throwing out some pretty colors ready for you to go to art school with. So remember, the key there is the alpha channel. I mentioned to you that as far as the action is concerned, I've got this alpha channels action, and basically all it does is if I click on it, it's going to make me a whole variety of different alpha channels here, as you can see. Let me just drop this down here. So 50, 40, 30, 20, 10. It also, within the action, I've turned it into a smart object, and I've also added in a crystallization element. There's several techniques to kind of enhance the effect more. If you're trying to give an image an artistic effect to begin with, do not be afraid of adding a filter onto it. So in other words, if I kind of just click the crystallize off here, but if I went into filter and I go into the filter gallery, and you kind of choose the likes of poster edges here, for instance, yeah, and we just press OK. So that's got a different effect running fully now with it. If I now choose the control click onto the 20%, and I now paste in my watercolor and I click generate, what it's going to do for us is obviously give us a photo reel at around about 20% brightness. So in other words, we're still going to have a lot of detail there, but it's also going to take account of the black lines that I've put in with the poster edges more. So it's going to give me a little bit more of a drawing edge and more contrast within the image. So as you can see, just by kind of playing around with some filters as well, you will get some real great effects with it and things really. So it's worthwhile kind of creating that action for yourself where you've got all the different levels. Remember, all you need to do is click on a alpha channel and set its brightness level. Hope you enjoyed the film.